Einen wunderschönen guten Abend zusammen. Mir wurde gestern beim Stream dieses Spiel empfohlen, What Remains of Edith Finch. Ich weiß nicht viel darüber, ich habe nur gehört, es soll sehr traurig sein. Ja, heute gehen wir mal auf die emotionale Reise und schauen, was von Edith Finch übrig blieb. Okay, was muss ich machen?
A lot of this isn't going to make sense to you, and I'm sorry about that. I'm just going to start at the beginning, with the house.
Okay. Sieht schon mal ganz hübsch aus.
I lived here until I was 11, but I wasn't allowed inside half the rooms.
Ist das Haus?
Inside the mailbox were bills from 7 years ago, marked urgent, open immediately.
Okay, alles voller überfälliger Rechnungen.
I hadn't been back since my brother Lewis's funeral.
Ach, guck an, kein Zugang. This property is protected by alles Video überwacht.
In her
Auch
will,
schön wieder.
my mother left me a key, but didn't tell me what it unlocked. Maybe she thought I'd know. Or she thought the mystery would be enough to bring me back.
Hey, Sweet Cherry, grüß dich. Ich dachte, dass das Geheimnis ausreichen würde, mich zur Rückkehr zu bringen. Runter oder rechts? Warte mal, das Haus ist da drüben. Ich geh mal oben lang. Oh, sorry. Muss ich nachher gleich mal nachgucken. Mein Problem ist, ich bin so ein richtiger Social Media, ich will jetzt nicht sagen Verweigerer, aber es ist nur so Mittel
I
zum
wouldn't have
Zweck.
driven this way in
Und
a
frag
long
mal
time,
Saho
but I
Fox, der
saw a
schreibt
few
mir auch oft und
footprints.
nach Tagen irgendwie sehe ich es erst. Also ist überhaupt nicht böse gemeint. Ich werde nachher gleich mal gucken. Ich habe die App eh hier. Ah, siehst du, habe ich nicht gesehen. DVD, ich habe es auf alle Fälle schon installiert. PS5 und PS4-Versionen können ja zusammenspielen, oder? Weißt du das? Ah, sehr gut. Ja, bei, wie hieß es, Watch Dogs Legion, da ging das am Anfang nicht. Die haben ganz schön lange gebraucht, bis das Cross-Gen Multiplayer funktioniert hat.
The truth is, even after I inherited the house, I never thought I'd come back to it. But now I had questions about my family that only the house knew the answers to.
Dass ich schon installiert habe, habe ich gesagt, ja? Okay, sehr gut. Ja, ich möchte nur nochmal sagen, ich habe euch, glaube ich, inzwischen 3-mal gewarnt. Ich verseppel jeden Generator, jeden Quicktime-Event. Ich weiß nicht, wie ich mich heilen kann. Ich habe keine Ahnung, wofür die Blutpunkte sind. Ich bin wirklich mega lost in dem Spiel. Sogar als Killer habe ich komplett versagt.
house was exactly like I remembered it, the way I'd been dreaming about it.
Wie wär's mit morgen? Heute, ich glaube, dieses Edith Finch dauert nicht gar so lang. Entweder danach noch, aber ich weiß halt nicht, wie lang das Spiel geht. Und ich würde es gerne in einem Rutsch durchdatteln. Oh, hi. Ja, ich traue mich ran. Ich hoffe, es ist nicht zu traurig, ja, weil ich will nicht, dass alle Leute den Nerd heulen hören. Recht kurz,
As a
okay.
child,
Weißt du, wie lang es
the
circa
house
geht?
made me uncomfortable in a way I couldn't put into words. Now,
Ja,
as a
klingt super,
17-year-old,
Sweet Cherry.
I knew exactly
Kannst fest mit
what
mir
those words
rechnen.
were. I was afraid of the house.
Ja, probier gar nicht die Vordertür, ging gleich durch die
Crawling through the
Katzenklappe.
doggy door used to be a lot easier when I was
Ja,
11.
exakt der gleiche PSN-Name. Ich heiße eigentlich überall so.
For the first time in years,
2 Stündchen, okay, das ist ja easy. Ja, gerne, mach das, Sweet Cherry. Ich habe hier eher auch die Mitteilungen abgeschalten, damit man das nicht im Stream sieht. Sonst wirst du gleich
I
bombardiert
felt like I was home.
von männlichen Zuschauern, falls sich irgendwann mal jemand meine
The
Videos
table was still a
anschaut.
wreck from the night we left.
Alter Schwede, die eskalieren alle immer komplett mit den Büchern. Gestern bei dem Spiel auch schon.
My mom was the only one of us who could imagine Great Grandma Edie living in a nursing home. It was like a bomb had gone off, killing everyone but sparing the furniture. Nothing in the house looked abnormal. There was just too much of it, like a smile with too many teeth.
Schönes Haus. Sieht zwar ein bisschen aus wie eine Bücherei. Aber, och nee. Ja, das wäre mein Traum. So, ich brauche jetzt bitte 100.000 Follower und den Verdienst von Monte und dann ziehe ich auf so ein Häuschen. Das wär's. Ja, ich glaube, wir haben gestern schon gesagt, das ist keine Jahresaufgabe, das ist wahrscheinlich ein Lebenswerk, aber ich werde mich bemühen.
Mom always told me to stay out of the basement, so I wasn't too surprised when the key didn't fit.
Siehste, habe ich ganz vergessen zu fragen, Sahofox macht das ja immer. Ist es besser, wenn ich die Sachen aus dem Chat auch nochmal vorlese, bevor ich darauf antworte? Weil ich streame ja auf 3 Plattformen gleichzeitig und wenn ich da auf irgendwas antworte, was die zum Beispiel auf YouTube gar nicht sehen, dann ist das ja wieder ein bisschen blöd, oder? Ich bin halt echt noch ein bisschen lost in der Streaming-Welt. Die meisten lesen das vor. Okay, ja, dann muss ich mich noch dran gewöhnen. Das ist alles ein bisschen Neuland. Ja, oder ich sag den ganzen Leuten, wenn ihr
Great
Chat
Grandpa
lesen wollt,
Sven
kommt zu
built a music
Twitch.
box for Barbara,
Freut sich Twitch vielleicht.
along with the rest of the house.
Ja, gestern hatten wir es auch mit den Schmetterlingen. Jetzt hängen hier wieder Käfer, Schmetterlinge. Hier bin ich. Das kleine Mädchen da auf dem Arm. Ich glaube, das Spiel ist ja schon ein bisschen älter, wenn ich mich nicht täusche.
Instead of a family, there
Sieht
were
aber echt
just
schön
memories
aus.
of one.
Hat so leicht ein bisschen Comic-Stil, finde ich, aber echt hübsch.
After Lewis started working at the cannery, we all got pretty sick of salmon. Except our cat, Molly.
Was haben die denn da dran? Ist das ein Wasserfilter? ich hergekommen? Okay, da hat anscheinend eine ältere Person gelebt. Was ist denn hier los?
Edie told me once that every Finch who ever lived is buried somewhere in the library.
Okay. Sind alle in der Bibliothek begraben? Aber warum der Schaum? Warum macht man das mit Bauschaum dicht?
A lot of things got left behind in the whirlwind of that last night.
Ach, jetzt, okay, hat nicht ganz geklappt mit der Message. Sorry. Hey, heute habe ich es noch probiert, da hieß es, keine Meldungen anzeigen, wenn ich im Spiel bin. Den ganzen Tag habe ich nichts gesehen, aber natürlich, wenn deine Freundschaftsanfrage kommt, sofort drauf. Das sind die VIP-Meldungen, weißt du?
My mom wasn't much of an optimist, but she never stopped believing that my brother Milton was alive.
So. Ah, sehr gut. Ja, ich finde auch, Privatsphäre ist wichtig. Und ich wurde ja schon hier eingeladen von irgendwelchen Hackern. Da ist mir dann im Nachhinein erzählt worden, dass die wohl irgendwie über dein Profil Zugriff auf deine hinterlegte Kreditkarte haben können oder was weiß ich. Ich habe es ehrlich gesagt nicht ganz verstanden. Aber ich habe auch schon ganz komische Anfragen bekommen. Hier schon wieder alles versiegelt. Ja, besser ist es. Ich hatte sogar mal eine Zeit lang ausgeschalten, dass mir Leute Anfragen schicken können und habe halt denen dann immer eine geschrieben. Warum macht ihr die ganzen Zimmer mit Bauschaum zu? Weird.
I spent a lot of time playing in Great Uncle Walter's room.
Oh, das ist doch auch schön.
I think my mom sometimes regretted not sealing it up.
Ja, so ein Talent hätte ich auch gern, ganz ehrlich. Schön zeichnen können.
Lewis told me there were secret passages, but I never believed him.
Mach ich, gerne. Danke dir, Sweet Cherry. Jetzt habe ich schon wieder das Vorlesen vergessen. Ja, es wird langsam. Jedes Mal, wenn jemand stirbt aus der Familie, hat die Mutter die Räume verschlossen. Okay, verschlossen und direkt versiegelt. Irgendwann hat das Haus keine Zimmer mehr. Und hoch damit.
Now it was time to find out what my mom had been afraid of.
Okay, es ist hoffentlich nicht gruselig, es ist nur, in Anführungszeichen, traurig. Dann kann ich da ja reingehen, ohne Geister, ohne so Sachen.
From the paintings on the wall, it was clear my brother Milton had been here before me. Reading this, maybe it sounds like I had a plan. But I had no idea what was behind that door. Just like I had no idea where all this was gonna lead. I grew up
Das ist
looking at
jetzt die
Molly's
Tür, die ich
room
von
through the
außen gesehen
peephole.
habe.
Being inside for the first time, I felt like I'd stepped behind a painting.
Ist aber auch ein bisschen eine gruselige Art, wenn wer stirbt,
I
einfach
got the
das
sense
Zimmer
Edie had spent a
versiegeln,
lot of time
alles so
here.
lassen.
December 13th, 1947. Dear Diary, I'll be gone soon, but I wanted to tell somebody about what's gonna happen. It started when Mom sent me to bed without dinner. I woke up and I was starving, so I looked around for something to eat.
Kann man die Untertitel gut lesen oder muss ich das vorlesen?
The gerbil food was dry, but I didn't mind it. My Halloween candy was all gone.
Keine Bonbons mehr. Okay, der Fisch lebt noch.
I thought about eating Christopher, but I held back.
Nee, Christopher essen wir nicht. Ah, sehr gut, perfekt.
I kept eating and eating.
Boah, nee, keine Zahncreme, Mädchen. Eieieiei. Und sie hatte ein bisschen Flecken auf der Hand.
I ate a lot of things that night.
Oh nee. Ich weiß zwar nicht genau, was das ist, aber ich glaube, die sind giftig. Eieiei.
Then I heard chirping outside my window. It was a barn swallow going back to her nest. I reached out for her. And suddenly, I was a cat.
Okay. Hi, Vogel. Ich esse dich nicht.
I tried to be quiet, but the bird was really scared.
Ooh.
Mom and Dad didn't even look at me.
Okay.
I jumped and I almost got her.
Ups. Also komme ich nicht auf den Tisch.
I could tell she was getting really tired. Now I was up in the big tree. I promised Dad I wouldn't climb it anymore. All I cared about was eating that mama bird.
Was? Wieso willst du denn essen?
I gobbled her up,
Oh.
and suddenly I was an owl. First, all I heard was the wind. Then I heard little teeth nibbling in the grass. Rabbits.
Kaninchen. Das war echt ein Kaninchen.
I imagined his face looking up and seeing mine through my talons.
Oh,
I swallowed him up, and I didn't chew one bit. Then I flew off to find something bigger.
Das Mädchen ist ein bisschen creepy. Was will sie jetzt essen? Ein Hirsch.
A mama rabbit.
Warum Mama Robot? Okay, haben wir nicht erwischt. Gut. Suchen wir was anderes. Irgendwas, was kein Elternteil ist. Oh Mann.
She was almost too big to carry. I started choking, but I couldn't stop eating. Suddenly, I was a shark.
Ja, der Hai in seinem natürlichen Habitat, dem Wald. Wer kennt es nicht?
I rolled off a cliff and into the ocean. Now, I was hungrier than ever.
Okay, was essen wir jetzt? Da ist ein Fisch.
I wanted fat, juicy seals. I tore off her flipper and it tasted really good.
Oi. Ja, komm, fertig essen, nicht nur anbeißen. Wo ist er denn? Da ist er. Oi, oi, oi.
Grabbed on tight. When I was so hungry, I jumped out of the water. When I opened my eyes, everything had changed.
Was bin ich jetzt? Schlange? Nee, Krake.
Now I was a monster and I smelled people everywhere. I was big, but I moved real quiet. I wanted to stop, but also I didn't.
Aber schon gut gemacht, der Tentat überbewegt.
After the last passenger, I was still hungry. And to cross the water, I smelled something new. Something I had to have, so I swam towards it. slithered onto the sand, and the good smell went into an old pipe. I got closer and closer.
Bin ich wieder in meinem Zimmer.
All of my stomach started growling. And suddenly, I was me again. I held my breath for a long time, but I couldn't hear anything. I think it's waiting for me to fall asleep. But it's not going to wait much longer. It needs to feed, and we both know I will be delicious.
Gruseliges kleines Mädchen.
I'm not sure if I believed all of that, but I'm sure Edie would have.
Wo ist denn Edith? Ach, da oben. Ach, ich bin Edith. Molly 1937 bis 47. Okay, wurde nur 10 Jahre alt. Die nächste wurde 16. 11. Eieiei. Kein gutes Schicksal.
This will be obvious later, but my mom never told me any of these stories. Edie would have, but Mom didn't like bringing up the past. Though, when we adopted a stray kitten, she was the one who named it Molly. I spent a lot of time in Great-Grandma Edie's room. Edie knit me a new pair of gloves every year, just in time to replace the old ones. Louis died a week before we left, but Edie had already started to memorialize him. Edie gave a big interview about a mole man living under the Finch house. My mom was furious. I hadn't thought of myself as Edith Jr. for a long, long time. When Edie told people Sven was killed by a dragon, she could also have said he was building a dragon-shaped slide that collapsed. She could have, but she didn't. Her room was like a museum. For 500 years, the Finches have been famous throughout Norway for their fortune and misfortune. Odin Finch buries the latest victims of the family curse, his wife Ingeborg and their newborn son, Johan. On January 7th, 1937, he set sail with his family and his house, hoping to leave the curse behind.
Ja, die Amis machen ja sowas auch. Die transportieren ja ganze Häuser auf dem LKW durchs Land.
But 40-foot waves off the coast of Washington send the house and Odin to the bottom of the sea. Odin's daughter Edie, with husband Sven and baby Molly, step ashore on their new home, Orcas Island. Odin Finch is the first to be buried in the new family cemetery. His daughter Edie is already dreaming of a new Finch house.
Okay.
Whatever's wrong with this family, it goes back a long ways.
So viele Bücher. Bücher.
Even in her 90s, sometimes Edie seemed a lot younger than my mother.
Oha. Traum vieler Mädchen habe ich
The only
manchmal so
trace
den
Grandpa
Eindruck.
Sam's first wife Kay left on the house was the pink bathroom. It was a pretty big trace. There's a secret in this bathroom. It's in the last place you would look. It isn't in the cupboard. It's hidden in this book.
Krass.
Sven gave Sam an old camera he'd refurbished. He never put it down.
Bei dem Medium musste man ja auch Fotos entwickeln. Das war auch nett gemacht. Milton. Hier ist die Tür auch zu.
I knew Grandpa Sam had a twin. And that he never talked about him. I guess my grandpa didn't like history any more than my mom did.
How I Want to Remember My Brother by Sam Finch. The thing I remember is that when he made up his mind, that was it. My brother said he'd die before he ate another mushroom, and he did. At Barbara's funeral, we swore we'd never be afraid again, and he wasn't. I think Calvin always wanted to fly.
Sam, Calvin, dinner's ready. Coming.
But that day, he finally made up his mind to do it.
Ey, hüpft da ja nicht runter, Junge.
I told him going around was impossible.
Ach, ich muss außen rum schaukeln.
Maybe if I hadn't said that.
Calvin, I'm not gonna tell you again.
Maybe if the wind hadn't picked up.
Boah, wieder nur so schön schwindelig.
Then maybe he'd still be here.
Hey.
But I doubt it. I think he'd already made up his mind. That's what I want to remember about my brother.
Ja, ich muss aber gestehen, das haben wir als Kinder auch probiert.
The day he made up his mind to fly.
Okay.
And he did.
Calvin's story felt strangely familiar. When I was younger, I remember trying to do the exact same thing.
Okay, war ich wenigstens nicht allein damit. Wir haben die Barbara vergessen.
After the funeral, Edie roped off Calvin's half of the room. Mom said Grandpa Sam enlisted at 18 and never set foot in the room again.
ist schon auch geil gemacht mit diesen ganzen Winkeln und Geheimgängen und so. Okay, warte, noch nicht. Nein, nicht reingehen. Warte, ich will mir das Zimmer noch angucken. War auf der anderen Seite nicht. Okay. Kann man nicht viel machen.
The passages were a pretty tight fit. They'd obviously been built for smaller hands and bellies.
Warte mal, da komme ich wieder raus. Ich schaue erst, wo der Geheimgang hingeht.
Growing up, I always thought of Barbara as a child star.
Barbara, da ist sie ja.
I never thought about how hard it must have been for her afterwards. Of all the stories people wrote about Barbara's death, I'm surprised Edie saved this one.
Old Jack
Überraschende Ende
here
der
with
Barbara Finch.
another ghastly tale inspired by America's most unfortunate family. I'm calling it The Surprise Ending of Barbara Finch. As a child star, Barbara was famous for her scream. Now at 16, she was all washed up, a has-been. But in a lucky break, she'd been asked to perform her signature scream at a local convention for monster movie fans. It was just the boost her career needed. Unfortunately, her scream hadn't aged well.
Getting better. I think you just need the right motivation.
Her biggest fan and current boyfriend, Rick, was about to demonstrate when...
Now that was a great scream.
It was Barbara's father, Sven. He'd slipped into a table saw and had to be rushed to the emergency room. So Barbara got stuck babysitting her youngest brother, Walter. Her convention comeback was cancelled.
Okay, I'm hearing frustration, but I'm not hearing terror. What if I tried...
A gang of hoodlums in Halloween masks have been terrorizing Orcas Island tonight. Police are urging residents to...
That came from the basement.
You're right! Also, I loved your delivery on that. Why is your basement door locked?
Because my dad likes making puzzles and secret passages. There's a key hidden in the music box. The secret is to keep winding and winding until finally the key pops out.
Thanks, babe. I'll be back in a sec.
20 minutes later, Rick hadn't returned. So Barbara went to look for him, right on cue. She reached for the music box. And as she wound the key, she listened for Rick, but the house was silent.
Oh, geil gemacht.
She found Rick's crutch and imagined the worst.
Hey, richtig gut gemacht.
The gang's leader is the infamous Hookman killer, Dr. Carl Hamill, who impaled and then ate his family 10 years ago tonight.
Okay, da hat sich der Vater in die Pfoten geschnitten. Hoffentlich. Sollte nichts Schlimmeres sein.
The old fridge rattled and grew still.
Wow.
Dear.
Okay.
Oh!
Rick?
Barb, relax. I was just trying to scare you to help you find your scream.
Well, I'm not scared, Rick. I'm furious.
Then act furious. All I'm getting from you now is that you're hurt and confused and you're...
She threw him out, but she kept a little something to remember him by.
Barb, have you seen my other crutch?
And she was still holding it when she fell asleep watching the late picture show. Hours later...
Barbara! Walter, what's going on up there? Ah! Okay, I'm coming up, but if this is a trick, you're dead, Walter.
Walter, are you there?
Walter had vanished, but his bedside radio was still on.
Orcas Island police describe the man as 6 feet tall, with a steel hook for a hand. Residents are urged to lock all doors and windows and notify the police of any suspicious activity.
Uh-oh.
Barbara turned, saw the hook man, and was speechless. He was quite smashing. And he was. He couldn't get enough of Barbara.
Okay, Barbara, there's gotta be another way out of here.
Wir müssen meinen kleinen Bruder retten, oder?
That night, she played her part beautifully. Molly's door hadn't been opened in years. The hinges grow.
Krückel, Krückel. Ah.
He wasn't moving, but she sensed the story might not be over yet.
Ja, und weg ist er. Oh je.
The hookman had vanished. She listened for his breathing, but all she heard was... At the door, she heard whispering. It was coming from inside the house.
Oh dear.
The monsters had come to surprise her. For Barbara, it was a dream come true. Then she saw what kind of monsters they were, and she realized what was about to happen. She was going to be famous. And with her final breath, Barbara Finch gave the performance of her life. I wasn't there myself, but I hear Barbara was magnificent. Poor girl. She had a taste for stardom. But unfortunately, so did her fans. Of course, the police blamed it all on poor Rick, who disappeared the same night. And little Walter? Hiding under his bed the whole time. He took it all pretty hard. But that's another story. As for Barbara, tucked inside the music box is all they ever found of her. Her ear.
Alter
Now, that's
Schwede.
what I call a real eerie tale.
Edie told me all Barbara wanted was to be remembered, as absurd as that comic was. Maybe what Edie saw was a happy ending.
Also das Haus ist echt geil, aber die Familie hat ein paar echt ernste Probleme. Bin ich da jetzt vorher rausgekrabbelt? Nee, da muss ich rein.
I guess now I know why Mom didn't like me playing with the
okay.
music box.
Dahin.
Whenever people ask me about my family, the first thing they always want to know about is Barbara.
Okay, also so wirklich verlaufen, glaube ich, kann ich mich gar nicht. Der hat da irgendwie
Mom must have locked the
durchgeleitet.
third floor stairs on the night we left. It's funny. All those times I played with the music box and never found the basement key. My Grandpa Sam spent 7
Okay,
years
dabei.
sharing a room with his dead brother, Calvin. As a kid, I just assumed every house had peepholes and sealed rooms you weren't allowed inside of. The last time I was in Edith Sr.'s room, I was 10 and she was painting my portrait.
Das waren wir eigentlich überall drin, oder? Molly, das war ja die erste. Okay.
Even the fireplace had a story. Edie told me the bricks came from the original house, after it sank. I wonder if that comic was right about there being a key inside the music box near the basement.
Na, gucken wir mal. Near the basement. Da ist er schon.
Mom said the basement was off limits, unless I wanted another tetanus shot. I saw Edie sneak down to the basement once, carrying packages.
Ich würde das Haus auch sofort nehmen. echt super. Und vor allem auch mit diesen ganzen Geheimgängen und hier der Schlüssel an der Spieluhr und dann im Badezimmer der Schalter im Buch drin. Hey,
I
echt
thought
super
maybe she was
gemacht.
hiding presents.
Und auch die Umgebung, so an einem See, schöne
It turned
Natur,
out she was hiding a lot
das
more
wäre der
than
Hammer.
that. I remember asking Mom once about where Walter had gone. She said after Barbara died, he got as far away as he could. If there's a pattern in all these stories, I think it's that none of us has gotten very far.
Okay, also bei den Amerikanern ist ja so eine Art Vorratslager, so ein Bunker. Eigentlich nichts Ungewöhnliches. Bei den Norwegern auch. Ich kenne mich halt mit skandinavischen Ländern so gut wie gar nicht aus.
Goodbye, everyone. I can't believe I've been down here for 30 years.
30 Jahre ist er da unten.
On that first day, after the shaking started, I didn't think I'd survive a week.
1968, was war denn da in Norwegen? Hatten die Krieg oder sowas?
But after a few days, I settled into a routine. That's what kept me sane. Having a schedule, living for today.
Oder haben die so viel Erdbeben?
I always expected to be dead tomorrow. But if you wait long enough, you get used to anything.
Okay, anscheinend immer um 12.
Even a monster on the other side of the door starts to feel normal. Almost friendly.
Aber jeden Tag Dosen Pfirsich.
And then one day, everything just stopped.
2005 ist es vorbei.
Whatever that thing was gone. Maybe you got tired of waiting. Or maybe I just got tired of being afraid. It's been a week now, the longest in 30 years. I'm done waiting. I have to leave while I still can. I know it's out there somewhere. Whatever killed Barbara and Molly and Calvin.
Jetzt muss ich durch die Wand hämmern, oder wie? Ja, das sieht so aus.
Maybe this is all a mistake. But I need to stop living the same day, even if it kills me.
Ja, vor allem von 68 bis 2005 war der jetzt da unten und hat jeden Tag seine Dosen
Whatever's out there,
Pfirsiche gefuttert.
I want you to know I'm ready for it. I'm going to appreciate all of it, especially the food. I don't mind if I only have a year left. Or a month. Or a single week. I'd be happy with one new day. I can already imagine the sun on my face.
haben aber auch alle ein Glück. Erster Tag in Freiheit und bam.
Walter died when I was 6. I can't believe my mom never told me he was down here.
Puh.
I'm sure my mom was trying to protect me. Maybe she was afraid I'd end up like Walter. But if she never told me about an uncle under the house, I can only imagine what else she was hiding. I don't want to make the same mistakes she made.
So, Mädchen,
Trying
pass
to
auf.
bury something that's
Da
still
fährt ein
alive.
Zug.
Now that there's only one of us left, or maybe 2, I thought it was time I heard the stories for myself and found out what happened to everyone else. But now I'm worried the stories themselves might be the problem. Maybe we believed so much in a family curse, we made it real. I don't know if I should even be writing this. Maybe it'd be better if all this just died with me. But I thought you should know about your family. And the history you're a part of.
Boah, da kann man es aber schon aushalten.
Though to be honest, I feel as lost as you probably do right now.
Ja. Bisschen lost bin
I
ich
think the
wirklich.
people in these stories believed them, for what that's worth.
Okay, ich glaube, du willst mich die Treppen hoch haben.
And when you look at the house, that history of imagination and stubbornness and madness, any of it seems possible. I think we've been surrounded by death for so long, we've just gotten used to it.
Das Everybody's Gone to the Rapture, ich glaube,
What
ich
kind
habe
of
das
family
sogar
finishes
auch.
building a cemetery before starting the house?
Ich habe letztens reingeschaut, also heute erst. Ich habe aktuell in meiner Bibliothek 601 Spiele. Wobei ich echt einen Teil davon immer mitgenommen habe, wenn es einen Rabatt gab. Und dann gesagt habe, ja, irgendwann ergibt sich's. Wie das Spiel auch. Lag
It's
ewig schon
embarrassing for
rum.
me to admit this, but the pet cemetery made me more
Ja.
uncomfortable than the human one.
Ja, ist ein bisschen was zusammengekommen.
3 of the gerbils were mine, and 2 had been my fault. Sven built the house, but it was Edie who designed the cemetery. I'm sure Odin's monument had been Edie's idea. My mom was always trying to move on, but for Edie, the past never went away. She could see it poking out of the water at low tide.
Hast du eigentlich damals den ersten und zweiten Teil von Life is Strange gespielt?
Edie said she dreamed about the old house every night. Edie's side was always easier for me to understand. But the older I get, the more I can see where my mom was coming from. Her dad had been pretty strict, but it wasn't enough to save her brothers. She was just trying to do better.
Ich finde es auch gut hier, dass der so straight durchgeleitet wirst. Da können die wirklich schön ihre Geschichte erzählen. Ja, das stimmt wohl. Die sind wohl echt zeitintensiv. Ich glaube, jeden Teil einmal
She lost 2 of her brothers,
bist du sicher
just like
20
I
Stunden
did.
dran oder
I get
so.
why she tried so hard to protect us. There's so
Aber
many
auch-
things I wish I could ask my mom now.
Bei Life is Strange, wenn
Part
du
of
da
me
eben
thinks this is what she wanted all along.
Entscheidungen
For
treffen
me to
musst,
come back someday
die eigentlich beide
and find
Seiten
everything out for
schrecklich sind.
myself.
Da ist immer so, ich weiß nicht. Ja, ich eigentlich auch nicht. Und vor allem,
But looking back on it now,
wenn du dann als Mann Pipi in den Augen hast bei irgend so traurigen Spielen, dann ist es ja noch schlimmer, als wenn es bei einer Frau ist, finde ich.
if she told me there was going to be so much climbing, I never would have come when I was 22 weeks pregnant.
Ich bin echt auch nicht gemacht für sowas. Ich weiß nicht, ob du den Film The Green Mile kennst. Ich kann den quasi synchronisieren, ich kann den mitsprechen und trotzdem haut mich das jedes Mal so um.
I never met Grandpa Sam, but I think he and my mom had a lot in common.
Furchtbarer Film, ja. Also eigentlich wunderschöner
They were
Film,
pretty
aber...
intense.
Ah.
Dawn, I promise, you'll never forget this weekend.
Yes, sir.
These memories are gonna last a lifetime.
What? Am I gonna have to shoot anything?
It's a hunting trip, Dawn. Shooting is strongly encouraged.
It's too early, Dad.
Na komm schon. Oh,
Perfect.
It's gonna rain the whole weekend, isn't it? Please just take the damn picture.
Hey, language.
I will never forget this weekend, Dad.
That's the spirit. Okay, got it.
I'm
Ich
gonna take some
fotografiere
pictures,
einfach das
okay?
Auto.
Just be careful. That camera's older than you are.
Da ist ein Vogel. Schau mal her, Vogel.
Aw. You're right, Dad. It's starting to clear up. Still freezing, though.
Muss ich nochmal die Vögel fotografieren, oder? Nein, ich glaube, der will was anderes.
Definitely should not have drunk all that coffee.
Ja.
Hold still while I...
Hey!
That's a keeper.
I'm just saying, I'm not always gonna be here, Don. You'll need to remember this stuff, if you want to survive.
I'll be fine, Dad.
You know who else thought he was gonna be fine?
Some guy who died.
Don, I'm being serious.
I know, Dad. You're always serious. Doesn't being out here make you want to chill out?
Well, to tell you the truth, I haven't been out here in 20 years. Last time I was with my brother Calvin. Man, that was a great trip. Your grandpa Sven taught us how to fish, how to build a fire. We found an old logging trail. There were deer everywhere. I bet if I could remember where that trail was, we'd spot a buck for you in no time. Give me a minute to check the map.
Dad!
Good eyes, Don. Before you take the shot, let me get a picture of you.
Dad, I...
Let me get behind you.
Do I have to do this?
Don, you don't have to do anything. But if you want to survive, you'll need to be strong. Great shot, Don!
Oh je.
I'm proud of you, Don. Always remember that, okay?
Dad, it's twitching. I think
That's
it's
totally normal, Don. Just focus on the camera. Try not to think about...
Dad!
Oi. Stell dir vor, sowas passiert und dann hast du auch noch ein Foto davon.
Of all these stories, that's the one I wish most that my mom had told me. Sam spent his life shooting photos, but Mom said he got nervous being in front of the camera. I guess we're all afraid of something.
Also ich muss auch sagen, was mir bei dem Spiel echt gut gefällt, das ist so...
After Sam died, my mom and Edie got really close. They'd both lost a lot.
Das ist so der Übergang zwischen den Geschichten. Dann rutscht ins Comic rein, dann geht's da wieder durch, dann durch den Winkel in die nächste Geschichte rein. Bis draußen, bis drinnen. Das ist echt genial. Scheidungsvertrag.
Dear Kay, do you remember the way Gregory used to laugh when he thought he was alone? Like something funny was happening, but only he could see it. I think he saw things the rest of us don't.
Over, Gregory. It's time to... Hold on, sweetie. Hello? Sam, I told you I don't want to talk right now.
I wonder what he saw. What his world was like. Reminded me so much of Calvin. Lost in his imagination. Whatever it was he saw.
Ja, der Ball muss auch noch rein.
Sure made him happy. How silly it sounds. But I worried about a baby being too happy. I could feel him slipping away.
Sorry about that, Gregory.
I know you did everything you
Wir
could.
hatten Spaß hier.
Maybe if I hadn't called that night.
Damn it. Hold on, I don't want Gregory to hear this.
Oh je, jetzt will der, dass ich den Wasserhahn anmache, oder wie? Jawohl, sie hatte den Stöpsel gezogen.
I wish she could have told us.
Nein! Aus!
About
Aus!
the world he saw.
Ach, komm schon.
There's so much I don't understand about Gregory. About everything. But I know what happened wasn't your fault. I'm sure he's happy. And he'd want you to be happy too.
Okay.
Good luck, Kay. Love, Sam.
Okay, das war jetzt ein bisschen Anstiftung zum Mord oder Anstiftung zum Selbstmord oder irgendwie so. Aber man muss auch sagen, der hatte bis jetzt wahrscheinlich den angenehmsten Tod. Gregory. 1 Jahr. Ach du Scheiße.
I can't imagine my mom ever writing poetry, and yet...
A poem for Gus, who always said the wedding was a bad idea. Our father never hit us kids, at least not very hard, before the day my brother said with teenage disregard that he'd be dead before he'd see a wedding in our yard. My father made him come, of course, but Gus stood far apart, just flew his kite and bottled up the storm inside his heart. I tried to talk him out of it, but though he'd never met her, we don't need a stepmom, were the words that
I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride.
Das ist eine Hochzeit.
When the time for photos came, Dad ordered him to come here. But Gus declined, and as a sign held up his middle finger.
Was, wie alt ist denn der?
The wind picked up, and panicked geese appeared and quickly went. But all the humans did that day was go inside the tent.
Okay, Nietenarmband ist sicher ein Teenager.
The rain came down in buckets then, but no one seemed afraid that nature might destroy the tent our dad had crudely made. The thunder sounded much too close and full of angry power. But all my father said to this was, make the music louder.
Ey, lass mich raten, der wird vom Blitz getroffen.
I wish that I could truly say I thought about you on that day. Out there on the beach alone, just you, the wind, the sea, and foam.
Oh Gott.
But I didn't. Until we found you.
She never talked about him, but Mom told me once if I was a boy, they were going to name me Gus.
Was haben wir noch? Eddie. Habe ich Eddie übersehen? Eddie, Sanjay, Dawn, Milton, Louis und die Edith. Okay, da kommen wir wahrscheinlich wieder nicht raus. Och, geil.
My mom moved up to the loft after her brothers died. At the time, it was as far away as she could get. She spent a summer building houses in Calcutta, where she met my dad, Sanjay. My mom moved to India a week after graduation and got a job teaching English. Louis was born a year later.
Wer wird denn da vermisst?
When my dad died, I don't think Mom knew where else to go. I'm sure Edie was happy to have her back. The house had to get a little bigger, but Edie was used to that. And for a while, things were good. Almost normal. But it didn't last. The beginning of the end was Milton's 10th birthday, when Edie gave him a castle. After Milton disappeared, the only thing he left behind was a room full of paintings. Milton Finch in The Magic Paintbrush.
Das haben wir als Kinder auch noch gemacht. Daumenkinos gezeichnet.
I was 4 when Milton disappeared. Mom spent months searching for my brother. Then she sealed the doors. Whatever Milton had found in the house, Mom didn't want it getting out.
Okay, war eine Kurzgeschichte von Milton.
Mom definitely blamed Edie, but I think Lewis blamed himself.
Da ist ein Boot im Haus. Das ist ja auch
After he
geil.
graduated, he just spent more and more time in his room. Until Mom got him a job at the cannery. Everyone always told me to stay out of Lewis's room. Except Lewis.
Legalize Marihuana. Okay, es war seine kleine Kifferhöhle. Aha. Ach, voll schön, ohne Scheiß. Was würde ich für das Haus geben? Echt genial.
Lewis's room smelled very,
Oh.
very familiar.
Zurück.
That part of him lived on. Lewis and I spent a lot of time playing games together, but he was surprisingly bad at them. He died a lot.
Dear Mrs. Finch, as Lewis's psychiatrist, I can understand your desire for an explanation. As I see it, the trouble began in January, shortly after we convinced your son to seek treatment for substance abuse. Newly sober, I believe Lewis first noticed the monotony of his daily life.
Oi.
He kept working at the cannery, but he withdrew part of himself. In our sessions, I saw the same behavior. His mind began to wander. I asked him to describe it. He said he started small.
Ich hack mir jetzt sicher gleich die Hand ab.
Imagining a labyrinth. He'd feel his way about. Then something moved. Bats. And toads. And things that have not names. He knew it was all in his head. But he took it very seriously. I had hoped he'd find himself. But he found something more. I worried about him then. Daydreaming at the cannery.
Das ist komplett verwirrend, mit links was anderes als mit rechts zu machen.
I spoke with his boss. But he said Lewis had become a model employee. Methodical, tireless, focused. Like a whole new Lewis. So I let him go on. I even encouraged him. It seemed very promising at first. He told me he'd made a new friend. On the edge of a city he named Lewis Topia. He built the city up slowly, brick by brick. Then he made musicians. and songs for them to play. He talked about starting a band. And he was always humming something. Every day his imagination grew stronger. He no longer spoke at the cannery. But his chopping was as reliable as ever. Then one day it struck him that all the cheering crowds, even the stones under his feet, were all in his imagination, so he could do whatever he wished. He held an election for mayor. And he won. They begged him to stay, but his mind was already wandering. It became a game for him. He'd conquer a city, then immediately push on. New Louisville. St. Louis. He started drifting away from our reality. Minneapolis. Until one day he forgot to go home from the cannery. Even as his mother pleaded with him, part of Louis kept sailing on. In Louisburg, he heard rumors of a handsome queen. The queen was on her own quest for radiant rainbows. He followed the sound of her silver harp.
Werd nicht zerschneid gleich irgendwas, ohne dass ich es mitbekomme, weil ich mich so auf den linken Stick konzentriere.
His chase led him to a golden palace east of the sun and west of the moon. Even then, his logic remained sound. He knew the world was all in his imagination.
Oh, was ist denn jetzt los? Oh, yeah.
But he was so proud of having created it. In his own eyes, he'd become something greater than a king. For someone who'd never known success in the real world, I think it was overwhelming. And then it struck him that the real Louis was not the one chopping salmon, but the one climbing the steps of a golden palace. My imagination is as real as my body, he told me. It was hard to argue with him.
Okay, das ist sicher sein Spind.
He began to forget the world we know. I think it pained him to remember Lewis, the cannery worker. He began to despise the man with a royal contempt.
Yo.
I still thought I could save him. Even after he said he was being crowned king over all the lands of wonder. The palace would be packed with his companions. Including the wise Calico who'd insisted on inviting him. His queen waited, holding his crown. There was only one thing left to do. Bend down his head.
Ist ja nicht so, als ob ich eine Wahl hätte.
And the rest I think you know. Mrs. Finch, your son was a kind man who will be missed by all of us who knew him.
Ja, aber war cool.
My brother was really cool. I wish you could have met him.
Okay, ich muss ja gestehen, bis jetzt finde ich es gar nicht so traurig, wie ich eigentlich gedacht hatte, sondern eher mega kreativ.
On the way back from Lewis's funeral, my mom told me to start packing. She waited until the day before we left to tell Edie. I'm not sure if she wanted to make it easier or harder. I wish we'd stayed. But I understand why we left. My mom ended up leaving everything behind. What happened that night had been coming for a long time. Maybe it should have come sooner. But it had to end one way or another. All that's left now is to tell you about that last night.
Oh, bin ich schon dran?
That whole last day, Edie just watched us pack and didn't say a word. Until supper, when she raised her glass and said,
"To our final night together, and all our final nights apart."
Grandma, you know what I said about alcohol. Some of your medications are very
Edith,
specific.
I left a present for you in the hallway. Why don't you go open it? The grown-ups have to argue now.
I'm sorry, you're right. We're all leaving tomorrow. Let's just enjoy our last...
I'm not leaving.
Edith, you're excused.
power had been shut off that morning, but Edie always had plenty of candles. When my mom sealed the library, I don't think she knew about the other entrance. Or that Edie had a key to it.
The thing you're afraid of isn't going to end when you leave the house. Edith has a right to know these stories.
My children are dead because of your stories. I think it's best if Edith and I leave tonight. We'll have the nursing home send a van for you in the morning. Okay?
Was für Geschichten? History of Finches.
Dear Edith, there's so many stories I wish I could tell you, but there's only time for one. This is about what happened on the night you were born. That night, the tide went way, way out. It was the first and last time I ever saw the old house aground. There'd been an earthquake out in the middle of the ocean. They called it the lowest tide in 1,000 years. God, it smelled awful. You know, I've seen that house every day of my life. But I never thought I'd go back to it. When the fog rolled in, I lost my way.
Okay, ich muss immer nur geradeaus, eigentlich.
I got turned around.
Okay.
For a while, I wandered. I started seeing things. Things I'd forgotten had ever existed. But when I saw them, they felt like old friends. That night, a lot of things came back to me. Or maybe I came back to them. Things I can't explain, but that I need you to try and...
Edith, what are you doing in here?
Oh,
It's mine.
Edith!
Mom, you're gonna rip it! Let go!
Chill, Mom.
I kicked and screamed, but
Ah, komm.
Mom dragged me to the car. I never saw Great-Grandma Edie again. The next morning, the van came to pick her up, but she was already gone. After that, we moved around a lot. We both tried to make the best of it. A few years went by. My mom didn't like to talk about it. But she started getting sick a lot. The rest happened pretty quickly. She got better for a while, and then she didn't. And then I was alone. The last Finch left alive. Until I found out about you. I'm still not sure what to tell you about all this. If we lived forever, maybe we'd have time to understand things. But as it is, I think the best we can do is try to open our eyes. And appreciate how strange and brief all of this is. This journal was supposed to be for you.
Eine Geburt, oder?
But now I hope you'll never see it. I just want to meet you. And tell you all these stories myself. But I guess if you're reading this now, things didn't work out that way. This is where your story begins. I'm sorry I won't be there to see it. It's a lot to ask, but I don't want you to be sad that I'm gone. I want you to be amazed that any of us ever had a chance to be here at all. Good luck.
Okay, also Ende war schon ein bisschen drückend. Aber echt schön gemacht. Schöne Grafik, schönes Konzept, mega kreativ, die einzelnen Geschichten. Ich glaube nur, ich habe 2 oder 3 Leute vergessen. Ich denke, ich werde das nochmal irgendwie in Ruhe spielen, alles angucken. Auch gut gemacht mit den Kinderfotos der Entwickler. Ja, und das muss ich sagen, ist auch wieder geil gemacht. Das ist ein Abspann, den man sich echt anguckt auch. Wirklich gut. Ja, Julika, du hast es auch schon gespielt, oder? Ja, gerne, vielen Dank für den Tipp. Die Zeit habe ich mir echt gern genommen. Und zwar wirklich, hat sich mega gelohnt. Ich hätte gedacht, es wäre trauriger noch. Das Ende war ein bisschen drückend, aber hier die Storys waren wirklich super gemacht. Teilweise ein bisschen verwirrend mit dem Monster, das alles fressen muss, oder mit der Überraschungsparty und nachher blieb nur noch ihr Ohr übrig. Ich hätte mal gerne noch ein paar Geschichten von der Oma gehört, wie es überhaupt dazu kam, ob das wirklich ein Fluch ist oder da habe ich noch ein paar Fragezeichen im Kopf. Aber mega gut, also ich muss mir mal die Entwickler merken, weil das ist mal wirklich Kreativität mega hart gebündelt. Ich glaube, wenn man das alleine für sich spielt, kommt das auch nochmal anders rüber. Ja, ich glaube auch, hätte ich es alleine gespielt, hätte ich noch viel mehr in die ganzen Winkel geguckt, hätte mir die Buchtitel angeguckt und mehr so noch auf die Details, hätte alle Wege ausprobiert. Aber das ist im Stream dann wahrscheinlich ein bisschen schwierig, weil die Leute einfach meiner Meinung nach so eine Geschichte erleben wollen und nicht sehen wollen, wie ich von einem Eck ins andere marschiere und dann stundenlang irgendwelche Sachen angucke. Aber werde ich auf alle Fälle nochmal machen, weil, ach, du hast es ja gespielt, habe ich jetzt echt 2 Leute vergessen, weil im Buch waren noch 2 oder 3 Namen, die haben kein Gesicht bekommen. Allein der Abspann haut mich schon wieder um. Echt super gemacht. Ah, kann man die Kapitel am Ende nochmal auswählen. Okay, dann muss ich da mal reinschauen. Vielleicht habe ich da echt irgendwas übersehen. 5 Jahre dran gearbeitet. Ja, echt super. The End. Ja, siehst du, die Sunshine haben wir vergessen, glaube ich. Den Sam haben wir. Eddie unten war die Oma, oder? Wähle Edith, um von Anfang an zu spielen. Okay. Also vielen Dank nochmal, Julika. Heißt du eigentlich Julika oder Julia? Auf alle Fälle vielen Dank für den Tipp. Das war echt super. Jetzt muss ich mal schauen, wie das andere Titel hieß. Julia, okay. Warte, du hattest da irgendwas geschrieben. Everybody's gone to the rapture. Ich glaube sogar, ich hatte das mal gezockt, war das nicht? Da kannst du nicht laufen, da musst du ziemlich weite Wege einfach relativ langsam gehen. Also wenn das ist, habe ich schon mal angefangen, aber habe es aufgrund dessen aufgehört. Muss mir das aber auch nochmal angucken. Everybody's gone to the rapture. So, Julia, ich danke dir nochmal recht herzlich für den Tipp. Es war wirklich ein außergewöhnliches Erlebnis, ich nenne es mal so. Ich habe befürchtet, dass ein oder andere Tränchen fließt. Ja, da werde ich mal reingucken. Ob ich das noch ganz zock oder stream, weiß ich nicht. Aber ich glaube, es gibt noch mehr so Schätze, die ich in meiner Bibliothek rumschwirren habe, die ich gar nicht so wirklich auf dem Radar habe. Aber da kommt sicher noch was. Und eben spätestens Donnerstag nächste Woche 18 Uhr kommt der neue Teil von Life is Strange raus. Da bin ich schon mega gespannt drauf. Und ich wollte es eigentlich so machen, dass ich erst die Remaster-Teile, den ersten, zweiten und dann den dritten spiele. Ich glaube aber, ich fange direkt mit dem dritten an und lege die anderen beiden dann hinterher. Ja, also für so Story-Spiele bin ich immer zu haben. Und habe mich gefreut, dass du echt die ganze Zeit da geblieben bist, mir Gesellschaft geleistet hast. War wirklich schön. Ich wünsche dir an der Stelle noch einen schönen Abend und hoffe, dass wir uns bald wiedersehen. Jetzt werde ich mal gucken, dass ich die anderen bei Dead by Daylight noch ein bisschen nerven kann. Und vielleicht schaust du da auch noch eine Runde vorbei. Also vielen Dank fürs Zuschauen. Und wenn du nicht rüber guckst, dann noch einen schönen Abend und bis bald, ja? Vielen Dank. Tschüssi.